Tim McCreadie got his first win in the Rocket 1 since he took over the ride from Hudson O'Neal, who vacated that seat earlier this year. It is McCreadie's second win in the Lucas Oil 8 Mile Dirt Series and his second win overall this season. He had a first place finish back at Alltech during the Florida-Georgia Speed Weeks. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so don't miss any of our future videos here at John Trent Racing. I thought this race was pretty average. There wasn't anything that really kind of stood out or was exciting. In fact, I felt like the race really got bogged down because there was so many cautions. It really became a race of attrition with a lot of drivers either having flat tires, having mechanical issues, exiting during the race. I think by the end of the race, there were only about 14 or 15 cars left on the track. I think maybe only 13 or 14 of them on the lead lap. And like I said, we didn't really have any long green flag racing. The only time we did have that was when we did get some really good racing because we got to see Ricky Thornton Jr. kind of track down Tim McCreadie and make a pass for the lead after McCreadie and Thornton had swapped sliders about, 2/3 into the race, I want to say. So for the most part, though, we didn't really get to see a lot of good dirt late model racing, for lack of a better term. It wasn't outstanding. We didn't get to see people swapping sliders. There wasn't anyone really kind of charging from the rear because there were so many cautions. It was hard to kind of make a charge from the rear because you run 5 laps, caution, run 10 laps, caution, run 5 laps, caution. And that's kind of how the race played out, except for maybe there's one part towards the middle of the race, and then I think maybe towards the end. But even then at the end, I think they only ran maybe 13 laps of green flag racing there, and McCreadie was able to hold off Jonathan Davenport. Davenport was the hard charger. He moved up 13 spots, finished in second, and kind of showed his nose a couple times on the restarts to McCreadie. But once McCreadie got it wound up, didn't really have anything to challenge him with. But let's get into this here. This is kind of where a lot of the good action started. Was around lap with 60 laps to go. So I think we're looking at like lap 41 here. Just to kind of get you up to date where we were. There was it took 9 laps for Ricky Thornton Jr. to get into lap traffic from the beginning of the race. Then immediately we had a caution with an incident between Dalton Wilson and David Brazil. And then 3 laps later, Clay Harris is stalling on the track, having a motor issue. And then I think we would finally get going green, and we'd go for maybe 14 laps, and there'd be a caution with Ross Robinson. He'd have a suspension issue. And then I'm looking at this here, 8 laps later, Drake Troutman and Stormy Scott got into each other. I think Stormy Scott had some kind of mechanical failure, slowed up, and Troutman just did not have anywhere to go and kind of ran over Stormy Scott there. And then there was another caution on lap 59, which brings us to this restart here. And you can see kind of the restart is a little bit interesting here. I don't know if there's any kind of gamesmanship happening here, but you can see Hudson O'Neal is kind of already to the inside of Ricky Thornton Jr.'s left rear quarter panel, and McCreadie is already almost at Ricky's door here, and he would take advantage of this and be able to get around Ricky Thornton Jr., who had led, I think, almost every single lap up until McCreadie here passes him. So let's take a look at this here, because this was some really, really good racing here. This was, I think, probably the best racing of the entire night. Was right here between Tim McCreadie and Ricky Thornton Jr. Let's take a look. See, really good start there from McCreadie up on the outside. Ricky drives it down through the center, moves up to the top, takes the top. McCreadie dives it down in, pulls the slider. Very nice slider there. Ricky Thornton Jr. has to dive to the bottom. He does lose a little bit of momentum there, and then Ricky tries to bring it back up, but McCreadie with the crossover pulls back in front, and he would lead that lap. And then here we go. A slider again from Ricky Thornton. McCreadie with the crossover coming out of 2 down the backstretch. He's still behind him. Takes that inside lane. Ricky doesn't block it, stays in the middle. McCreadie slides right up in front of him, really kind of takes Ricky's momentum away there. And really good pass there would solidify that first place position. You can see how much it affected Ricky Thornton Jr. Hudson O'Neal there, now challenging him for second. So that was the best racing of the night. That was absolutely phenomenal. That's the stuff that we love. That's why we love dirt racing is that kind of racing right there, going back and forth, really working each other over and seeing who's willing to kind of send it in there and pull those tight sliders, those risky maneuvers. So we'd have a couple cautions. Actually, no, this is where we actually had the long green flag run right here. And Ricky Thornton Jr. would eventually track down Tim McCreadie once he got into this lap traffic. This was really fun here too, watching this. So Ricky Thornton would retake the lead here about, 15 laps after McCreadie had taken it from him. So let's take a look at this right here. So they're side by side coming out of 2 down the backstretch. Ricky Thornton stays on the bottom, uses the lap car there as a pick, slides right up in front of McCreadie, really takes his momentum away. McCreadie down to the bottom, Ricky going up top, driving down through the middle, trying to diamond him. McCreadie comes up a little bit. Ricky has to make some evasive maneuvers there to avoid him, but it allows him to take the lead. Unfortunately, he wouldn't hold on to the lead for very long. Just 6 laps later, you can see here he would slow up with a tire. You can see that left rear tire, I think, is flat, and the caution would come up. McCreadie would take the lead, and Ricky Thornton Jr. would never really recover from this incident. In fact, after he made repairs to the car, they got the tires changed. He would be involved in a spin here on the immediate restart. So let's take a look here. The replay, you can see here he's already in the back. And I think he just kind of loses it going up there's like some holes and bounces there. And he looks like he just kind of loses it, spins out, and obviously would be able to rejoin the field. But he wouldn't really be able to recover or be a threat for the lead from there. I think he ended up finishing in 5th. So he did move forward from, I think, like 13th or 14th. Like I said, there was only 13 or 14 cars left on the lead lap at this time. But he ended up finishing in 5th, was not really a threat for the lead, even with all the cautions coming out and allowing him to maybe pick his way through it. He just wasn't able to get back up there to compete with Tim McCreadie or Jonathan Davenport for the win. And then we kind of had, again, like I said, we had a bunch of cautions again. 7 laps later, Dale McDowell would have a flat right front going on with 28 laps to go, and then 25 laps to go, Max Blair would be involved in a spin. Unclear exactly what happened there. And then we'd get go green for like 12 laps, and Devin Moraine would have a right rear flat that would bring out the final caution. So there was a lot of cautions during this race, and it sucks when you have that many cautions. I think it really breaks up the flow and doesn't allow the drivers to like really get out there and get good racing. Because I love when they get into the lap traffic, and that's where you usually see a lot of good, exciting racing happening, and seeing how they're going to navigate that traffic, move around, pick the courses, who's going to be the aggressor, are you going to be cautious? I love like seeing how that plays out, and I think that is just really fun to watch. And we usually get some like amazing wild passes when they do have that. I do want to point out here though that Davenport was. He did try and challenge a couple times, mainly on the restarts. You can see this one here. He got up to 2nd. He's trying to challenge for McCreadie here. This is 24 laps to go. So I think this is right after the McDowell flat right front, or about 4 laps after that. And you can see he tries to keep him in his sights here, but once you gave McCreadie a couple laps to get like the heat back in the tires, I guess he would really just kind of pull away. And you can already see that happening right here, gapping Davenport a little bit there coming off of turn 2, but wasn't really that big of a threat. I mean, he closes there in 3 and 4. McCreadie was feeling the heat. He had to fend him off, but it wasn't exactly like you never actually saw Davenport take the lead, even down the backstretch or into one of the corners. McCreadie kind of kept that lead and kept him at bay. And then, as I said, just to kind of highlight this again, here is the final restart. 14 laps to go. After the Moran flat tire. And you can see here, it's kind of a similar story. He's trying to get underneath of him, but that McCreadie just was so good on the outside, was able to keep him at bay. And you see there's actually some decent racing here between Ethan Dotson and Garrett Albertson, pulling some sliders on each other there, racing for 3rd. So that was pretty exciting. Then you can see there Ricky Thornton Jr. I mean, he's already half a straightaway behind the leaders at this point. Just about a lap into the green flag here. So, and you can see here, McCreadie's taking the checker, and he eventually did gap Davenport by half a straightaway on the last lap here. You can see right there, McCreadie's taking the flag, and Davenport is just coming off of turn 4. So beat it by half a straightaway. Dominant performance by Tim McCreadie after Ricky Thornton Jr. had that flat tire. But like I said, I felt like this race overall was pretty pretty average. And I think it really has to do with the cautions, the amount of cautions that we had, and all of the attrition, whether it was engine issues that people were having, whether it was tires, etc. And it really kind of slows down the race too, because you'd have like one guy go in there, and I get that they give them the courtesy laps to fix that stuff, but then you're having like 2 or 3 other guys get in there, and I feel like they're extending those courtesy laps. Maybe it's just my perception as a viewer. It just felt like some of those cautions took a little bit longer than what they should have. I don't know, it just kind of really slowed the race down, and I would have liked to have it be picked up a little bit. But I get why they do the courtesy laps and everything like that, and I'm not saying that they should change anything. I'm just pointing out that it did indeed slow the race down, bogged it down a little bit, and I would have liked to see it like, please stay green. I am definitely in the James Essex camp of please stay green. Let's get him out there. Let's race. Let's get him into lap traffic and just have him go at it. That's the kind of racing that I really like, because you really do get to see them usually end up in that lap traffic, because as the race went on, as I said in the beginning of the race, Ricky Thornton Jr. got to lap traffic 10 laps in. By the end, it's taken them maybe 13, 15, maybe even a little bit longer sometimes to hit that lap traffic, because there's just not as many cars out there anymore. And the cars that are out there are better performing cars, et cetera, because you had so much attrition. As for the final rundown here, Tim McCreadie, obviously your winner, moved up +2. Davenport was your hard charger, moved up 13 spots to finish in second. Alberson ended up in third. Ethan Dotson in fourth. Ricky Thornton Jr. finished in fifth. Hudson O'Neal in sixth. Carson Ferguson in seventh. Boom Briggs had a outstanding run, moved up 11 spots, finished in eighth. Really, really good run for him. Dale McDowell, unfortunately, fell back 7 spots, finished in ninth. Again, I think he had some issues with the right front late in the race. Caution came out, and then same with Devin Moran, had that late caution with 14 to go, and faded to 10th. Lost 3 spots. Max Blair jumped up 12 spots, finished in 11th, so did recover after that early spin that he was involved in. Actually, he spun on lap 25. The caution came out for him, so he actually did a pretty good job of recovering from that. BJ Robinson in 12th. Jimmy Owens finished in 13th. Timothy Culp was actually running pretty well early in the race, but ended up finishing in 14th. Not sure exactly what happened. Jared Lahners in 15th. I think he exited the race early. I think that he was having some issues. David Brazil was involved in an accident. He finished in 16th. Mike Marlar had engine problems and had to end early, finished in 17th. Brendan Smith, 18th. Dalton Wilson, 19th. I think none of these guys actually finished the race here. Like I said, there was only like 14, 15 cars in there. So I think Jimmy Owens finished. I don't know if Culp finished. He might have finished, but everyone 15th and out was no longer on the track when the race finished. Stormy Scott, Drake Troutman, they were obviously involved in accidents. Tyler Stevens, I think, had a mechanical issue. Billy Moyer Sr., not sure exactly what happened to him. Don't remember any kind of reporting on him. Ended up in 23rd. Scott Kriegler in 24th. Ross Robinson, 25th. Clay Harris, 26th. Corey Lawler finished in 27th. So that is how they finished. Let's take a look at the actual point standings here for the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. I think this has been updated. I hope it's been updated since last night. But Ricky Thornton Jr. still has a commanding lead, 245 points over Devin Moran. Jonathan Davenport is 250 points behind. So pretty tight race there for second place between Moran and Davenport. Obviously, Davenport gaining some ground there on Moran tonight, finishing in second, with Moran finishing in 10th. And then McCreadie really is in a very tight battle there with Hudson O'Neal for that fourth and final playoff position. 640 points behind Ricky Thornton Jr. Hudson O'Neal, 700 points behind Ricky Thornton, so 600 behind McCreadie. And I will have to say, McCreadie has come on really strong recently. I think they're finally clicking over there at Rocket One. We're seeing him make it onto the podium. He's obviously just got to win now. So don't sit on Tim McCreadie. I think that he is going to make a challenge for that fourth and final playoff spot, and could be a big player in that chase that they've got going on at the end of the season for the championship. Garrett Albertson, 850 points behind. Mike Marlar, 930. I think those guys, it might be a little bit too far out now to really challenge for that fourth place position, especially given the way that McCreadie is running. We'll see what Hudson O'Neal did. He really came hot out of the cannon when he switched over to SSI, but has kind of cooled, I feel like, in the last couple of races. So maybe they've got some kinks to work out there before they can get back to form. But Ricky Thornton Jr. still obviously looking really good, just even with the move over to Kohler. obviously won the prelim race on Friday. I was not able to stay up, man. That one just went too late. I was whipped. Was not able to make that, but still loving what I'm seeing from the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series. But would have liked to seen this one go a little bit more green, see a little bit more racing. Could have been a much more, I think, fun, exciting race if we were able to get it go green. But hey, sometimes races turn out to be races of attrition, and I think that is indeed what this one was. And Tim McCreadie ended up coming out on top. So congratulations to him, and I'm looking forward to him continuing the success that he's having there in that Rocket 1. I'm looking forward to them really challenging JD, Devin Moran, Ricky Thornton Jr., Hudson O'Neal, racing for that final and fourth playoff spot there. But let me know what you guys made of this race. Let me know in the comments below.